Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. I'll just say a couple remarks. I'll be quick. I'm sure there's questions. Just to reiterate the same points that have been made, we're also seeing negative spillovers in terms of employment in our lab and our ability to support both postdoctoral and research scientists. That will mean less employment in the area, less tax revenue, less spending in the local economy. We have grants under review currently. I have a grant currently funded by the U.S. Department of Education, the Institute of Education Sciences. That grant, it's unclear whether the funding will continue for that grant, and so we won't be able to report on how we can better help children who are being bullied in elementary schools or acting as bullies, so teachers will have less knowledge about how to help students who might be either experiencing bullying victimization or perpetration in schools. Will be less able to report on the outcomes for those students as they age. We have another project under review trying to understand how absenteeism is increasing in U.S. schools, including as a result of the pandemic. That I have no idea what's going to happen to that grant because of the cuts at the U.S. Department of Education. So we won't be able to tell the American public why absenteeism seems to be increasing and how we can help counteract that problem, including as a result of the pandemic. We have another project under review trying to understand how we can better help students grow up to be high achievers in math and science, and so continue on into STEM majors and hopefully the workforce. That's a pressing need for the U.S. as we try and struggle internationally with economic competitiveness, including around technology. We won't be able to conduct that work if the reviews don't continue at NSF. And we have another project under review examining how maternal depression might be impacting kids' development, including academically or behaviorally as they attend schools. I have no idea if that's going to be funded from the NIH, including because of the cuts that seem to be proposed, and they're so indiscriminate that even work that relates to that important issue is under threat. Having been funded repeatedly through the Institute of Education Science of the U.S. Department of Education, 90% of their workforce has been cut. That institute was started through bipartisan legislation and through a Republican president. And the institute is, as far as I can tell, being largely shut down, and no new work or very little work will continue. The data collection that's been done through the U.S. Department of Education, the National Center for Education Statistics, the NAEP, the Nation's Report Card, other data sets that only the federal government, in my experience, has the capacity to collect, because we're talking about data collection of 200,000 kids in U.S. elementary schools, or 20,000 kids who are followed from kindergarten to the end of 5th grade, with intensive data collection that occurs. Those are being cut left and right. And we are just not going to be able to a capacity to inform the U.S. public about how to help kids thrive, is the short answer. Whether it's around absenteeism, bullying, maternal depression, academic achievement, reading, disability identification, all those seem to be under threat or are likely to be cut. And my understanding of why that's occurring is because of waste, fraud, and abuse and DEI. And our projects don't have waste, fraud, and abuse and aren't really focused on DEI. So as far as I can tell, there seems to be sort of a chainsaw that's being used instead of a scalpel. There's no careful process to identify projects that seem important for the public good and not. And the last thing I'll say is, having served as a reviewer on multiple grants at different agencies, those grants go through extensive peer review. It's very hard to receive public funding. We're talking about funding rates, the single digits, 6%, 8%, maybe 10%. The activities are carefully scrutinized in terms of the science, and the budgets are also carefully scrutinized as well. So it's a pretty lean operation, as I think we can all attest as researchers, and how difficult it is to obtain funding. That we're cutting this so indiscriminately, I believe, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot again and again and again, and it's going to hurt us in the long run. Thank you.